We had a recent message from one of our beloved viewers, and basically he was talking about his NFCU internal score dropping like crazy. His FICO score is up though. Okay, so he's trying to understand what the problem came from. What did he do wrong? So in today's conversation, we want to dig a little deeper into this problem and see how we can help fix this problem for our beloved viewer. So don't you go anywhere if you are interested in also helping us, because it's all about making sure everybody contributes their opinion. We believe strongly in collective wisdom. That's how we call it on this show. So please stick around, and maybe you want to pitch in at the end of the conversation. Very important. So don't you go anywhere. Of the Awesome Sweaty Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka. Now let's roll. In today's conversation, we want to talk about a viewer who actually talked to us about his NFCU internal score just dropping like crazy. FICO score is up though, so he wants to know what he did wrong. Okay, so what's really going on here? We want to explain everything to our viewers so that they can also chime in. It's very important to have all kinds of opinions and feedback. So what's really going on here? So we are speaking about a Michael O. His last name starts with an O, and he's 53 years old. He's married with 5 children. And he has so 2 children are still in the house, while the other 3 are actually adults and doing their own thing. Okay, so he's a mechanic in Compton, California. Okay, and he's making. By the way, big shout out to our peeps and our viewers and listeners in Compton, California. We love you and God bless y'all. And so he's making $61,000 income. So he made $61,000 last year. Okay, and so he is using he uses all credit cards jointly with his wife. So they have this joint credit card agreement, okay, and credit card usage agreement. And he has been an NFCU member since 2010. So this is a lot of years now, more than a decade here. And right now they have 2 NFCU credit cards. So I'm just sort of painting a big a clear foundation for the conversation. Now, the thing with Michael O is that he reported that recently his NFCU credit score, his NFCU internal score, just dropped like crazy. Okay, and it's interesting because he said his FICO score is up, but he didn't give us the exact number, the exact score. That would have been important. So Michael, if you are listening right now, you can drop us an email, or you can just drop us a comment below this video and tell us what your FICO score is exactly. We also want to know your FICO, your wife's FICO score, because if you are using all credit products jointly, her usage will also impact your usage, which will ultimately impact your credit score. Because what is high? You said FICO score is up. Okay, well, how high? And you said that your Navy score just dropped like crazy, minus 157 points. That's a big drop for that matter, because when we speak about Navy Fed internal score, we're not speaking about a big delta here. You have a 100 to 450. So we're not speaking about a big delta as opposed to 300 to 850 that you have when you have the FICO score. Okay, so when you said it dropped by 157, that's a big drop. First things first. You really need to have a clear idea of your Navy Fed internal score before you can start analyzing the causes of that drop. Okay, if you have no clear idea, and Mike, I'm speaking to you because you said that your score dropped by 157. Okay, and we are going to dig deep here to understand. Now, your Navy Fed internal score has many components, okay? And a lot of folks believe that there is a direct relationship between your Navy Fed internal score and your credit score. There is a strong correlation, not relation. There's a strong correlation, a strong positive correlation, but it is still a correlation. It is not a one-to-one relationship here. Okay, so when we speak about the Navy Fed internal score, you have to think about the utilization of revolving account credit lines in the last 3 months. This is an important criterion that Navy Fed takes into account when setting your internal score. Okay, the utilization of revolving account credit lines. In other words, your credit utilization ratio. Your credit utilization ratio is pivotal. So they also look at the number of recent inquiries on your credit report. Are you just going around and just going gung-ho, applying for credit cards all the time? Mike, I'm speaking to you. Or your wife is doing the same thing, or the kids in the house. And by the way, the kids in the house, do you have them? Have you set them up as authorized users on the card? Because if you're 53, I'm thinking, I have no idea about your private life, but I think those kids might be in their teens if they're still living in the house or younger. Okay, but have you set them up as authorized users? Okay, and you have to also understand that your Navy Fed internal score looks at the length of your credit history. So if you have a limited credit experience, your credit score will be low. Now, given your age, you are 53. I don't think you have a limited credit history. I mean, 53, you have had a lot of time, a lot of decades for that matter, to build credit. Okay, and so if the ratio of accounts opened in the last 24 months to all accounts is kind of high, that could also affect detrimentally. That could also affect negatively your Navy Fed internal score. So I'm just giving you a non-exhaustive list of criteria, of elements, of factors that could adversely impact your NFCU internal score. So the bottom line is 157 minus 157 points is a big drop. So my question to you is, from where did you drop at? So maximum is 450. So where were you at before the drop? What was your score before the drop? So those questions are important. You can always answer us either below in the comment section or in privately via email. Be careful here. Be very careful, Mike. I'm speaking to you directly here. And you let me clarify a few things for you. How did you find out about the drop? Because it's important. Navy Fed doesn't just like send you an email every month and say, listen, here is your Navy Fed internal score, and the crazy thing is some people even believe that it is a one-time thing. This is just one of those jokes that happen all the time on social media. People watch YouTube videos and they believe they know everything about Navy Fed. They believe that, if somebody who has 1 million views has said it, or they have read certain things in Reddit forums, they believe right away that that's the truth. That's kind of funny because, when we look at those things, those Navy Fed internal score being a one-time thing, or Navy Fed midnight hacks, all those sort of Disney stories, we laugh because we've been members of the Navy Fed and all the other 4 important military financial institutions in this country for the last more than 30 years. So when you think about practices happening at Navy Fed, you think about practices happening at Penn Fed, at Service, at USAA, also at Andrews. We know those things in and out. Okay, so my question to you is, how did you find out about the drop? Did you apply for a new credit card? Have you asked for a limit increase and got denied? If you got denied, what did the letter say specifically? Because you must have received a letter from Navy Fed if they had denied your ass. If they had denied your ass, they would have notified you and explained to you in a very articulate way why they denied your ass. Okay, they just don't do things randomly or, secretly. No, they are very transparent in their decision-making process. So my question to you also is, did you call customer service to inquire about the drop? Because we are speaking about a big drop here. We're not speaking about small amounts, small numbers here. 157 in the grand scheme of things. When you think about the NFCU internal score, this is a big thing. Because when you think again that the delta goes from 100 to 450, 157 points is huge. So did you call customer service? If yes, how many times? So what was the outcome of those calls? Talk to me about that. So here is solution idea number 1. The things you have to do specifically. I want you to go to an NFCU branch. This is very important. So you probably have called and things have not been resolved in your favor. Okay. Now I want you to really go physically to a branch and have a conversation there. Sometimes it's a lot easier to try to solve problems face to face than trying to do things electronically. I'm not asking. See, the thing is, when we say this things on the show, people like, I don't have time. I'm working 9 to 5 or 9 to 9. I have kids to take care of. I don't have time to go to a bank or credit union physically to ask to help them solve my issues. Hey, listen, we get that. We all have a very busy lives, but when you have something as important as your Navy Fed internal score, you want to make time to solve it. Okay, so you can go to an NFCU branch. We have one that's located in Compton. That's pretty good. It's located in the Gateway Town Center. We're putting the address on the screen for you. Okay, so this is 1759 Alameda Street in Compton. And so you just go there and you just want to ask more about the situation. Now, what would be ideal, it's not necessary, but it would be ideal, is to go with your wife. It will be very wonderful because you guys use all cars jointly. You use your 2 NFCU credit cards jointly, so she is part of the conversation. She's an important part of the conversation. Okay, you want to ask to speak to a manager. Again, it's not about just speaking to a staff member. No, this problem is so big, you need to speak to a manager. Okay, and if you don't have time, call. But hey, listen, I beg you to go there physically. Don't you look for a lazy, lethargic shortcut and say, no, my ass is not going. No. Your ass should go there. Okay. When you go there, have your financials ready. We are speaking about anything financial. So your tax returns. Okay. If you have your bank statements from other institutions, have your W-2s. You said you make 61 grand last year. If you have W-2s, your 1099, anything that shows improves your income, please bring it with you. Also bring the last 3 statements of your 2 current cards. Okay, the whole thing is about starting a fruitful conversation about your Navy Fed status and why you had the drop in the first place. Solution idea number 2. We really have to have a clear idea about your situation on the 2 current credit cards. Let's have a deeper convo about those credit cards. What are those credit cards? Is it the Gold Rewards credit cards or the Cash Rewards? What kind of credit cards do you have? And the thing here is that we want to know more about how you use the credit card. What is your credit utilization ratio? Are you below 33%, something very ideal, or are you around 70%, 80%, 90%? You need to have a clear idea. So you need to actually polish up. You need to improve the situation on your 2 credit cards. When I talk about improving, I'm speaking about your credit utilization ratio primarily. And I'm also speaking about your payment history. Is your payment history okay? Remember that your payment history and utilization ratio accounts for what? 65% of your FICO score. I'm speaking here about your overall payment history on all credit cards and loans and what have you, not just on Navy Fed. Okay, so this will impact your FICO score. So it is important to have a clear idea about the situation on those two credit cards. Okay, and what is the credit limits? This is important because your credit limits will impact your credit utilization ratio, right? The higher your limits, the better it is, because all things held constant. If you charge, let's say, $1,000 on a $5,000 credit limit credit card, you have a utilization ratio of 20%. If the limit went to 10 grand, you have a utilization ratio of 10%, which is way better. So the lower the better in terms of your CUR, and a low CUR actually has a great impact on your Navy Fed internal score. Have you had any problem in the past? I mean, with either with Navy Fed as an institution or with the 2 current credit cards that you are using? It's important because you might be thinking, we just have a few NSF overdrafts. We're talking about non-sufficient funds event, overdrafts and what have you. In the past, those are little things, but for Navy Fed, there might not be little things. Okay, because if they see a pattern, a history of repeated overdrafts, this could be problematic for you. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another session of the Awesome Sweaty Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation about one of our viewers who actually has seen a sudden drastic drop in his Navy Fed internal score, and we are trying to help that brother actually find solutions rather to his problem. Okay, so solution idea number 3: check your FICO score. I mean, really, you want to check your FICO score. I'm not just asking you to check your TransUnion, because Navy Fed pulls primarily TransUnion, but you want to check also Equifax and Experian. Very important. So there is a website called annualcreditreport.com, and Congress has mandated that you get a free credit report and credit score once a year from them, or whenever you are denied a credit card or loan. Okay, so go to annualcreditreport.com and just check your credit score from there. Now, this is a one-time thing, and there are other places where you can check your FICO score for free. You can monitor those metrics continually throughout the year. So we are speaking about Credit Karma being one example. You have a Wallet Hub, you have Nerd Wallet, and all the credit card issuers also have their program. As a matter of fact, Navy Fed has a program where you can check your credit score continually. So my thing for you is you need to check your FICO score. Has it dropped also? Because you talked about, FICO score is up, but what is up? What does up mean? What does it mean? I mean, is it up like, are you a 650? Are you a 525? Are you a 725? Are you a 825? Where you at? Where are you? Okay, so has your FICO score dropped also? And you have to understand when we speak about FICO score dropping, normally there's got to be a strong correlation between your Navy Fed internal score dropping and your FICO score also dropping. Unless you have done something else, you have effed up with your Navy Fed relationship. Okay, and but it's important to know the 5 components of the FICO score so you know how to maintain a high FICO score overall. So remember, your payment history accounts for 35%. The amounts owed, in other words, your credit utilization ratio, accounts for 30%. The length of your credit history accounts for 15%. New credit accounts for 10%, and credit mix, also called credit diversity, accounts for 10%. So if you know the 5 components of your FICO score, you know that you need to work on your payment history and the amounts owed, which together actually, they actually account for nearly 2/3 of your FICO score. Solution idea number 4: if nothing works, if you have trying to go to a branch and talk to someone, if you have monitored your FICO score, okay, if you have made sure your the situation on your 2 current cards is fine, if nothing has worked, just keep making your payments as usual. Sometimes it's just a lot better to ignore. See, because the thing is that your NFCU score dropping like crazy, that's problematic, but in the grand scheme of things, think about it. For all intents and purposes, it doesn't really matter much outside the Navy Fed context, outside the Navy Fed ecosystem, really. Okay, so just keep doing things that keep taking care of business. Do whatever you have to do, but most importantly, making your payments as usual on your Navy Fed credit cards, but also on your other credit cards and loans and lines of credit and what have you. Okay, it's very important to maintain that positive payment history, to maintain a low and a CUR that is as low as possible. Okay, and those are really quite essential when we think about the grand scheme of things and trying to improve your financial life in general, trying to improve your financial metrics. You want to keep a low DTI, you want to keep a low CUR. So when we speak about, let me just break it down for you. So when we speak about a low CUR and a low DTI, what I'm trying to say here is you want to be the sweet spot. Based on our research, and we have been following this thing for 30 plus years, the sweet spot is around 30%. I mean, some experts talk about 45%, 40% being good, but honestly, if you want to always be approved for credit cards, loans, lines of credit, and whatnot, whether you apply it at Navy Fed or other credit unions or banks for that matter, you just want to keep your CUR low. Now, the lower the better. I said 30% is just a start. If you can go below, like let's say 20% or 10%, that's also good, okay? And you also want to maintain a clean banking record with NFCU. Because see, the dichotomy I'm talking about, if you have a sudden drop, a drastic drop in your NFCU score, and you have a high FICO score, that delta, the dichotomy, the contradiction, maybe because you don't have a clean banking record with NFCU. So please try to maintain a clean banking record with NFCU. Okay, and what you want to do here is you can ask about your NFCU score after 3 months. Because sometimes things might not be fixed right away, but if you asked a quarter after, maybe they would have fixed whatever whatever would cause the problem. And remember, the drop could also be a glitch. Yeah, NFCU is not perfect. They are good, but they're not perfect. So this could also be a random glitch actually impacting you. That's why I'm telling you just to take it easy. Thank you so much for your attention to this conversation. We were talking about a viewer who had a problem with his NFCU internal score dropping like crazy suddenly. And so if you have any comments, any advice, please, members of our audience, beloved members of our audience, we know that you are very smart. We know that because we see it in your questions. We see it in the polls that we actually, in the poll questions that we actually ask, the way you answer. We know that you are very smart. So please contribute. Help this brother out in terms of his FICO, his NFCU internal score. And yes, thank you so much. I will see you until next time. And please, in the meantime, remain marvelous.